Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We got about 2 minutes, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Ron.
Good evening.
Good evening. Six o'clock, Bob.
Sir.
We ready?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Sally, and all of the other board members. Well, good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our first ever Zoom open forum. We have held open forums the last 5 years, and during this time, we featured an open forum mostly every month, except for the last probably 4 months. This is an open forum, no specific agenda. This is a time to ask questions. Well, good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our first ever.
Hold on just a second.
Are we okay, Bob?
Yeah, I'm getting a live feed from the. There we go.
Okay.
Somebody's got their YouTube feed open.
Okay. I'll just start again here. This is an open forum, no specific agenda. This is a time to ask questions. If we don't have the answer, we will take your name and contact information and get back to you. Tonight, we have our principals here, along with our cabinet members and other administrators and staff, and of course, representatives from our school board. I would like to start out by announcing some very outstanding news. And I would like Kelly Neely, our Director of Curriculum, who in addition also has many other responsibilities, to make this important announcement. Kelly, are you out there?
I am.
Thank you. There you are in your familiar place.
Yep. Right next to Marianne. I'm really super excited to announce that we have been awarded a grant. Betty Eusticchio, who is our McKinney-Vento liaison coordinator, she applied for this, and we got the Washington State Student and Youth Homelessness COVID-19 Response Fund grant for $20,000, which is the most that you can get. And it can be used for helping our families during this time with food, rent, gas, hygiene products, whatever it is that we need to do to help them, which has been awesome because we've been relying on donations, but $20,000 is amazing.
That's wonderful news. And there's no restrictions on how we use that, I take it, correct?
None.
Just to support our families, to support our students and so on.
Yes. Yep.
Wonderful.
very proud of our two liaisons. Jefferson Doyle as well helped with this.
Wonderful. I congratulate them and thank them for all their hard work. And I know they're working hard every day to support our families. I know that for a fact. Well,
Yeah, we're up to about 50 boxes of food a week, but I know that with this money, we can do so much more.
wonderful. When is that check arriving? May I ask that?
It should be anytime. They'll be sending us our official award letter. And then Brenda will be putting it into the right account codes and we'll be ready to go.
Wonderful. That's great news. A great way to start our first Zoom open forum. Okay, we will now open the session for questions. Our ending time in terms of these open forums is 7 o'clock, so we have an hour. And maybe as time progresses, because we're going to continue our open forums every month. In fact, we're going to have one in early June, June 2nd, where our subcommittees that are working on the opening of school, whenever that is, will be making reports to the community. But this is something that we will continue each and every month. And if we need to, there'll be more than one open forum each month. We just want to make sure that we are all together as we go through these challenging times. Okay, so let's start with questions. Bob, you're going to help us out with that?
I have several questions that have been posted to the email box. First one from Jody Olson. I would like to know participation numbers as of right now. You should have this information now that packets have been turned in. Also, how that number compares to neighboring schools. Has our district reached out to other districts in the state to compare learning strategies? What about reopening strategies? Since it will be up to each district, how are you deciding what's best for us?
Right. I can answer the last part of that question, and then I'm going to turn it over to others to respond. As I mentioned, we are developing 7 subcommittees that are going to be dealing specifically with very important issues and taking into consideration the latest information that we received from OSPI today on what things we need to be concerned with in terms of opening schools. We have started the process of developing those subcommittees. I've sent letters out to people that contacted me that might be interested in participating on these subcommittees. And of course, our staff and a representative from our board will also be involved in these various subcommittees. But let me just go through very quickly what these 7 subcommittees are all about. The first one is student, staff, and family social, emotional needs and support. And our subcommittee leaders there are Marianne Marshall, who's in charge of K-12 schools, and Susie Worsbicki, a counselor at Shelton High School. And possible subcommittee members are nurses, counselors, parents, building administrators, and it's open to whoever wants to partake. The second is going to be focused on remote learning and the traditional model and how those two can work together, because I can guarantee you that remote learning and the traditional model will be part of our process to implement a quality instructional program when school begins. And Kelly Neely is the subcommittee leader, and possible subcommittee members are building administrators, technology department, teachers, community members. And so that's going to be a very important committee also. Number 3, operations, transportation, and nutrition. The subcommittee leader there is Brenda Trogstad. And of course, there'll be many people on that committee: director of maintenance and operation, nutrition, transportation people, parents, building administrators. The 4th subcommittee is policy review and reform to accommodate a transitional model of education. And as we move into the new school year, a new way of doing things, we're going to have to review our policies and make adjustments as we see fit so that we can move forward and in a legal fashion. School board representative on this committee will be Carrie Davidson, along with myself. And of course, there will be building administrators and cabinet and parents on that committee also. So we're reaching out to the entire community on these subcommittees. Like I mentioned, we sent out a letter today to numerous people, and we sent letters out last week also. The fifth subcommittee is safety and security issues, student staff protection against the virus, protocol for sanitizing and disinfecting schools, and a system to deal with, hopefully this won't happen, but with the reemergence of the virus. All of those things and more will be discussed in this particular subcommittee. We will have hospital representatives, health department people, police, fire, EMT, building administration, teachers, parents, etc. The sixth subcommittee will focus on sports and the extracurricular program. And that's going to be headed up by our athletic director, Trevor Leopold, who's going to be responsible for high school programs, and Mark Smith, who is in charge of K-8 extracurricular programs. And he is also our new football coach from the state of Arizona. Possible members on that committee are coaches, K-12, parents, community representatives. And then the final subcommittee, number 7, will focus on communications and public relations, making sure that everything that we're working on is communicated to the public. And that person in charge will be the subcommittee leader, I should say, is Katie Diamond, and possible subcommittee members. And a lot of these people have already signed up for these committees. And if there's people out there that would like to be a member of these subcommittees, I welcome you to that. And we will give you instructions on how you can connect to these various subcommittees. But in terms of the Communications Public Relations Committee, subcommittee, Gordon Weeks, from the Journal, iFiber One, Heidi McCutcheon, from the Chamber, Jennifer Baria from the Economic Development Council and the business community, and Service Club representatives. So those are the 7 ways that we're going to be dealing with the opening of school. And I think in relation to the information that we received from the state today, we are very consistent. And I've sent that information to the subcommittee leaders to incorporate in their discussions with their subcommittees. So we're right in line with, at least initially here, with what the state would like to see individual school districts do in preparation for the opening of school. I've mentioned to the subcommittee leaders that we need to develop plans that are adaptable and flexible based on what happens down the road. So that's something that our committees really need to take into account, so that if we get new information, if the virus goes one way or another, we can adjust to changing times. So that's the last part of that the answer to the last part of that question, and I hope I answered it. If not, please let me know. But in terms of the first parts, I'm going to turn that over to Kelly, who can respond, and along with Mary Ann, to discuss where we are in terms of remote learning in relation to the number of packets that we've distributed, the number of Chromebooks that we have distributed, and how we compare to other districts. I don't like comparing us to other districts, because Shelton School District is Shelton School District, and we try to do the very best for our kids. But it's nice to check to see what other school districts are doing, and we're doing that. But in terms of specific data, as this person is asking, I'm not sure we have that, but maybe we do. And I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you, Alex. We are just like every other school district in the state right now. It varies from class to class, teacher to teacher, grade level to grade level, school to school. Involvement is all over the place and engagement is all over the place. What we are going to do is send out a survey this next week to get actual numbers, to have that. We also have a tracking sheet that every teacher uses to put down the lessons that they've had for the day, who they've contacted, the direct communication with either the parent or the student, what that communication was by email, phone call, Zoom. And we're tracking all of that for the entire district right now. Like I said, we're like every other school district. We have some kids that are on fire with this and they're engaging every day, and we have some kids who are not. But with those kids, we are doing everything within our power to get them re-engaged and to figure out what barrier they're facing, because it's usually about a barrier. We have reached out. We constantly check what the schools around us are doing as far as what platforms they're using, what they're asking of their students, what the teachers are doing. I feel really confident in our plan that we have here in the district. The teachers are working extremely hard to reach out and to make this as individual and as meaningful as possible for all of our students. I'm particularly proud of what we've done at the high school level as well, with being extremely careful with the seniors, checking, double checking, rechecking to make sure that they are all on target and on track to graduate. And then being very selective in the types of classes that the kids are getting in grades 9 through 11, so as to not to overwhelm them, but to have student success during this time.
Okay. You know, I was reading an article this morning from Ed Week, and it was a study that they ran, and it was pretty interesting because they asked teachers across the country how they felt remote learning was working. And 4 out of 5 said that students are not engaging. And that was a little bit of a surprise to me, but 4 out of 5 teachers nationwide said that it's very difficult, and they believe that students are not engaging for a number of reasons. And so this is something we need to be aware of as we begin to hopefully open schools again. How do we make remote learning, distant learning relevant to the times? And how are we going to incorporate remote learning with the traditional model? Because I believe it's going to take both to really support our students and our families. There's no question about that. In all honesty, we're not ready right now in terms of providing remote learning to every single student in our district. We're not there yet. And if you really think about it, we've been at this since March 13th. Today is May 19th. And this is a complete transition of public schools as we know it. And it is not easy for parents. It's not easy for our students. It's not easy for our teachers, for our staff. It's new, it's different. And we've got to be patient with one another because we're far from where we need to be. I mean, we're making great strides forward. And I appreciate all the work that our teachers are doing and our building principals. I mean, we're trying very hard. Are we hitting and missing? Yes, we are. But I've said to our staff that one of the things we've got to do between now and whenever school starts is to refine remote learning as much as possible and be thinking about how we incorporate that with the traditional model that we're all used to. But to expect us to be perfect at this point in time, unfortunately, I can't say we're even close to being perfect. And there's no district in America that's perfect in terms of providing everything for every student that they need. So this is a huge challenge for public education. It's a challenge for our teachers, for our families, for our students, and we've got to give each other some slack. But I can guarantee you we're doing everything possible with the resources that we have in Shelton to do the very best for our kids. And I could get into the intricacies, but we don't have time for that this time around, but we can maybe dig deeper into that the next time we have an open forum. So, Mary Ann, do you want to add anything to that?
I just concur with what you and Kelly talked about. Just letting our families and our community know that we are constantly refining remote learning. on a daily basis, hourly basis, and we're constantly refining. So when we learn something's not working or we could do something better, we're working hard to refine what we're doing right now.
Okay, principals, Chelsea, and any of our other principals, do you want to comment on what's going on in the schools in terms of remote learning and your contact and support of families and students?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm Chelsea, I'm the principal at Olympic Middle School. And, as Dr. Apostle mentioned, we've been doing a lot of trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. Going on week 5, what we've had the most success with is our live lessons. Our 6th grade teachers started those lessons about a month ago now. And now that they've kind of built up their student clientele, they have about 100 students that log on every day to participate in a live lesson. Our 5th grade teachers just got started last week, so they're building more and more students every day, but it'll take a few weeks for all the kids to kind of figure out how to do that. Those lessons get posted onto Google Classroom so students can access it anytime that works for their schedule. Teachers are connecting with students weekly, and then they're connecting with students and families every other week so that they can check in with families and see if they need help with anything, any concerns, providing feedback. They're documenting all of the contact that they're making with students and families on a tracking sheet, as you already heard mentioned. So we keep track of if, students that are participating or any students that we haven't been able to get a hold of. And then we have a system for continuing to reach out to them so that we can get as many students and families engaged as we can. So right now we've been looking at our numbers because all of our teachers are tracking participation. So if students have completed assignments or they're showing up to live lessons or they're submitting their packet, then they're being marked on a form. So as of right now, we're averaging about 80% participation. So we are very excited about that. So that doesn't mean they've completed all of their assignments, but that means that they're making attempts, they're completing some, they're showing up. So we're excited to keep building on that.
Thank you, Chelsea. Jen at the high school, can you give us a snapshot of what's going on there, please?
Absolutely. A lot of things that already have been mentioned are the same at Shelton High School, other than the fact that Shelton High School and Choice High School are allowing or offering courses for credit. So we are not only handing out packets every week, but we are getting them back every week. Google Classroom probably has a faster return rate and maybe a higher success rate, and that runs between 80 and 85% of continued engagement. But I think when we talk about just our students engaged, we're even higher than that. The parents and the families that are coming through for packets are extremely appreciative of what's being offered. We have staff there in both the AM and the PM sessions every week. There's kind of on-the-spot tutoring that takes place. Questions are answered. Social and emotional needs are met. It's amazing what the staff has come together and done. And as everyone has said, this is tracked, this is documented. We know which families we need to continue to reach out to. We've got multiple layers for doing that, involving attendance secretaries and classified employees. Sometimes counselors have that magic opportunity, or administrators. And every day, as Marianne said, every day we learn something more, we continue to refine. And if this has to continue for an extended period of time, I know that the staff at Shelton High School will be fully prepared and can take this forward, offering even more classes than we're currently offering. At this time, we have most students engaged in a minimum of 2 classes, where a typical trimester schedule would have been 5. The reason for that, we were not able to pull off right away classes such as art or PE or some of our electives, but we have students who are, as we call it, enrolled in 3 classes, some enrolled in 4, and we even had some students asking for a full enrollment of 5. We actually did deny that because a distance learning with that many classes is difficult for any student to be successful with. But our students and families, they're wanting more, they're appreciative for what's happening, and we definitely have a partnership going with our community. And again, the staff are leading the way.
Thank you, Jen.
You bet.
I don't want to spend too much more time on this particular question, and we probably haven't answered every piece of it, but let's hear from the elementary schools, and I'd like to hear from Hannah.
Hi there. This is Hannah Hoff. I'm the principal at Bordeaux Elementary. And one of the things that we were really excited about this week is that we have doubled the engagement of our English learners online with our Imagine Learning, which is a language acquisition program. So we doubled our numbers there. That's something that we had been slow to start with. And so we were pretty excited with our success there. We're doing the same kind of accountability measures at Bordeaux. We are asking teachers, same as what has already been reported, to have two-way communication with families and students. Teachers are having about a 96% success rate with that weekly. That doesn't necessarily measure the engagement of the students with the academics. We have a variety of different levels of students, of course, and parents who are in different situations with that, but we are getting some pretty decent engagement numbers there as well. We're looking at different ways to measure that and set expectations for that right now, but we are feeling really good about the feedback that we're getting from our parents. Our teachers are working incredibly hard to provide everything that parents report that they need. And we have invited our families to communicate with us as administrators if they're not getting what they need through their Google Classroom experience or their Packet experience. And we have followed up on every situation that has been reported to us as being something that has needed some extra support. And our teachers have gone above and beyond, and it's been really amazing. And again, I know it's hard for parents. And we are just here to support in any way that we can as we move forward.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Just one more. Mary Johnson, anything you want to add? Principal at Mountain View.
Yeah, good evening. Hannah said most of what I was going to say, but I think one of the really important things to remember at the elementary level, and I think that's become really evident to us at the elementary level, is we have such a variety of levels of computer skills and ability to do things. So it's very likely that as we progress through this, we're going to have more than one way to engage our students and provide lessons. So kindergarten, first and second graders, getting them online to do online lessons and be able to sit for a period of time is a little more challenging. So as our teachers are going through this, they're evolving constantly with the types of lessons and engaging activities that they're doing. And the communication with the students looks a little different than the communication with the parents, but we're just using the feedback that we get from our parents, which is primarily the communication that happens at the elementary level, and just trying to meet their needs and help them. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with our parents around how to be teachers. So a lot of what our teachers, school counselors, and Alex and I are doing right now is just providing them with how to help their kids stay focused and how to make their kids excited about doing some of the work, because they're not used to doing that. Sitting down and doing homework looks very, very different than our distance learning that we're doing right now. So I think looking forward to some really good strategies that we can provide parents around what it looks like to do school at home, I think would be greatly appreciated by so many of our families.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we could talk about this for forever. But I will say that I'm very grateful to our parents who, along with us, are trying very hard to make all of this work. It's not easy at all. And we understand that. That's why we started this process in April, where we reached out to the parents to find out what their needs were in terms of remote learning. We did the same with our teachers. Do we have to revisit that again? I believe we do, to find out now what are the needs currently for teachers, for parents, for students. And so we have to go back to the drawing board. If we're going to continue to refine what we want to do when school opens, we need to go back and ask questions, and we're going to do that. So I'm hoping that we answered that question. If not, please let us know and we'll dig deeper for you. Okay, Bob, the next question. Bob?
Sorry, there I go. Had to hit the right button. There's a brief feedback message on this particular question from an individual, Hannah Megan. Thank you for your honest words, Dr. Apostle. Internet access and transportation to get meals and instructional materials seem to be big barriers.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything more on that one?
that's a comment that was posted to the YouTube stream.
Okay. All right.
I do have, there are several more emails that were posted.
Okay, we probably, thank you for those comments. We appreciate that. And we want to be transparent, and we are transparent in everything that we're doing. But I can tell you, we believe we can do better, and we're going to do better. And if we all stick together, things will get better than ever before, each and every day. So the next question, please.
Okay, this is from Eric Stokely regarding budget. I'm sure this is foremost on everyone's mind. Dr. Apostle has stated no RIFs for the district, and that allowed many teachers to breathe a bit. But budgets will be impacted. What are you looking at? Transportation is expensive. New computers are expensive. The list goes on. It would be nice to hear what contingency plans are being looked at. Also, after school activities like robotics, do we see a way to allow these to actually occur? Thank you for the support and emails. We are all just trying to muddle through this the best we can.
Thank you very much. A very good question. Well, I can tell you that I have direction from the school board. The direction has been clear. Continue to move our district forward under any and all circumstances. And I believe that that's where we're heading in all respects, in terms of program and in terms of staffing. Without teachers in the classroom, programs obviously suffer. So we decided, the board and I and others, that we would not do a reduction in force. But we're also planning, and there won't be a reduction in force, but there may be additional cuts. And we don't know exactly where we are in terms of state revenues. We have no information on that, but we're getting a glimpse of what we could be facing. And so Brenda Trogstad and the board and I, we meet every Thursday at 4:30 in budget study sessions, and we'll be going out to the public here very, very shortly. We're looking at the worst case scenario. We're hoping for the best, planning for the worst. And I can tell you that we're looking at a 10% cut, and what that means to the district, and a 15% cut, and what that means to the district. And we're even going to be looking at a 20% cut. And right now we're at a 3% cut. So unless the federal government steps in, the state's revenue base has been hurt tremendously in terms of sales tax, business tax, property taxes. All the places where the state receives revenue have been hurt, and they've been hurt tremendously. So we're not sure exactly where the state is going to land, where maybe some federal help will come into play. But we're preparing, like I mentioned, a 10%, 15%, and a 20% cut, which is huge for any district, let alone Shelton. So we're going to keep everything going forward, and we're going to have to be creative and innovative to do that. But we've got to do the very best for our kids, and we've got to have teachers and staff to make that happen. Now, in terms of some of the things like the robotics club and those kinds of activities, and Don, are you with us this evening? Don Wielander?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Don, can you comment? I know you've had conversations about the robotics program and some of the things that are affiliated with that program. Do you want to make a few comments on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, I know it's tough being out of the classroom and everything, but this has really given the CTE department an opportunity to reevaluate the equipment in the classrooms and what we're doing in the classrooms and what we need, what we have now and what we're going to be needing. And looking at our 21st century equipment, which robotics plays a huge part in moving our 21st century education forward. That program is only going to be enhanced in the future from what I can see and where my budget dollars will go. We'll continue to upgrade. We'll continue to buy supplies for robotics. I would like to see it grow as a program. That'll be a big part of our academies as we move our academies forward also. So, you know, we're looking at that. We're also looking at our virtual reality as far as we have automotive programs that we can run online. Electude is a huge program that we could do. Today I was doing some more research on U-Link that our welding instructor has given me all the information on, and that's through Lincoln Welding. That's a welding program. So I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, career and technical education wise moving forward. I have a wish list from each one of the teachers on things that they would like to see purchase this year for their programs to keep them moving along. Brenda has been very good keeping me in tune with the budget as far as the numbers and where we're at and what we have. Tomorrow we have a meeting set up. I do with my secretary to go over all of the budget and to look at starting to make purchases. And Brenda has been aware of that. Glenn was looking at some of the virtual welding programs that we want to do. And I've been in contact with Klein Industries out of Vancouver to be able to make some of these purchases. So we're looking very, very good in the CTE world as far as moving forward with programs.
And including the robotics and everything that we want to do with that program, because that's a very important program across the board. Thank you, Don.
Absolutely.
Okay, in terms of transportation and those kinds of things, Brenda, do you want to comment on that, or Holly?
This is Brenda Trogstead, Executive Director of Finance. I can share a little bit I found out today. I attended a webinar from Superintendent of Public Instruction. We're already seeing a reduction in transportation funding. They will be short funding us in the current fiscal year, June 30th. We don't know what that dollar amount will be. That money will reduce the following fiscal year because they're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul at this point. So just a little bit, we're starting to see some of the impacts of COVID coming in for our budget. So like Alex said, we are planning, we're meeting with the board weekly and doing scenarios. So
Yeah, and again, very shortly, thank you, Brenda. Very shortly, we'll be coming forward in open forums and board meetings where we will share the worst case scenarios that I mentioned. I'm hoping we don't have to go there, but obviously we have to plan accordingly. So again, the direction that I've been given by the board is continue to move forward in terms of our academies and in terms of all of our programs. And so that's on my mind constantly in terms of the budget and what can we do under this scenario? What can we do here to make sure that our students are getting the very best educational experience? So again, a great question. We could probably talk about that for an hour also. But thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Okay, next question, please.
All right. This is from Hannah Megan. Thank you for holding this meeting and answering our questions. The current pandemic has laid bare the huge divide in access to adequate housing, food security, technology, academic resources, and other resources to provide for essential needs that students and families in our communities experience. How does the district and Shelton community plan to continue to address this divide and make sure that all students have improved access in the future? For example, providing hotspots and Chromebooks and continued support for food and housing needs that families aren't required to pay for or travel to access.
Very good question. And I know that the city, I don't know the details of what the city has been talking about, but I can assure everyone that the city is very concerned as far as some of these gaps that we're experiencing that have surfaced through this pandemic. And I'm sure that they're working on each one of them. And we will be working together with the city in relation to those issues. Brenda and Glenn, can you talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of working with the PUD on hotspots and the distribution of Chromebooks, and maybe giving some facts and figures there, and maybe some direction where we might be heading? I'd like to start with Glenn, please.
Hi there, Glenn Shelton, IT Operations Manager here. So kind of just an overview of what we've been doing. You want like number of Chromebooks we've offered or just what we?
Yeah, that would be a good start.
Okay, so we've set out, I think right around 2,300 Chromebooks is what we've handed out to families. I've lost track of how many different opportunities we've had. I would say we've had at least probably 7 or 8 different days and locations and times where we've done that. As far as Wi-Fi, we know not everyone has an internet connection, so we've been trying to do things in that area. We've taken Bordeaux Elementary, Shelton High School, and Evergreen Elementary. So if a family doesn't have Wi-Fi, they can actually drive into those parking lots and get Wi-Fi connections while they're in the parking lot. We're also working with PUD number 3, and they've actually set up some hotspots throughout the community so that they're trying to hit other spots where families are located throughout the county, and same type of philosophies. Parents and students can drive up and use the Wi-Fi at those particular spots.
So Glenn, where are those hot spots right now? And define a hotspot for us, would you please?
Yeah, so the hotspot is basically just a spot where someone can drive up with a Chromebook or any other device and they can connect to the internet through that Wi-Fi. So the hotspot is just a hotspot for an internet connection. And I don't remember the exact locations that the PUD has fired up now, but they have at least 5 now that they have up and running. If you go to our district website, we do have a technology resource page, and there is a link there for the PUD hotspots and where those are currently located at. So
I'll update that. I just found out they have 15 active this afternoon. So they've been cranking them out. So
say that again, please, Brenda.
PUD 3 has 15 active hotspots out of all the ones they were going to install. So they have it up on their website too, that you can see where they're located. They're all over the county. So
yeah, we're kind of in the pioneer days as far as access to the internet. You know, someday it will be just like a utility bill. It'll be like a telephone bill or a light bill. I'm hoping that can happen as soon as possible. But then you have the issue of how people are going to pay for that service. But we are reaching out 2,300 Chromebooks, and we're also dealing with the issue of food distribution. And maybe you can comment on that too, Brenda.
Sure. We've been doing, I'll give you yesterday's numbers, 1,800 meals, breakfast and lunch yesterday. It was a record day. We broke over 900 for each lunch and breakfast yesterday. That's the most we've done.
Day, right?
One day. We're averaging a little over 6,000 meals a week right now for all of our sites. We also added 2 bus routes with 3 stops. We have a bus that goes to Fawn Lake and stays there for 45 minutes. And then we also have a bus that goes to Springfield Loop and then Oak Park also. So we've been serving about 100 meals out of each of those buses every day too.
Is that counting Ricardo De Bosque, what he's doing?
No, that's a totally separate program. So
comment on that.
I only know a little bit. Kelly might be able to share a little more. Ricardo we bought Ricardo a bus. So if you see a little bus driving around delivering food, that's Ricardo Del Bosque. And Kelly can probably elaborate on everything he's doing.
Very good.
He's been giving out those meals that we've talked about, you know, up to about 50 boxes, but we'll be doing more now that we have the means to do more. And having that bus has been phenomenal for them. We had people using their own personal cars and making several trips out to families. Now we've got the bus and everybody can put the food on there and it's good to go. So
it's $20,000, right?
Pardon?
And we've got $20,000.
We've got $20,000. It seems like a lot. We'll see how long it lasts.
And to fill the bus, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricardo, and his staff for doing that. That's above and beyond what Brenda was talking about, and we're going to hopefully continue that for some time in the future. Okay, anything else from anybody on that particular question? Thank you for the question. Great questions tonight. The next question, Bob.
This is a comment from Jody Olson. Comment on the Google Classroom meetings. My child is 11, low attention span like most kids his age. The beginnings of video lessons are filled with so much chit chat and screwing around that he loses interest and leaves the lesson. We watch again once it is uploaded and we can skip to the actual teaching.
Okay, another Kelly question.
So it's good feedback for the school. I would recommend, getting a hold of the classroom teacher, following that pathway. It is extremely difficult when you're in a Zoom meeting or a Google Classroom to control what the students are doing on the other side of the screen. So we just have to keep that in mind, because we're not there with the kiddos like we would be in the class where we can do all kinds of our little teacher tricks. We can't do that. So it's a little bit difficult if somebody's, rolling around on the ground or, playing with the cat, whatever it is that they're doing. But it is, if you're witnessing something that you feel needs some feedback, please contact the parents, the schools, the teachers. If you feel like you need to go beyond that, contact the admin, the principal, the assistant principal. We are, like Marianne said earlier, we're constantly refining. So if we know if that's an issue, we'll talk to that classroom teacher.
Yeah, and that's why it's important for us to go back out to the parents and survey what their needs might be today versus a month and a half ago. Because we've all been exposed to these efforts, and how can we continue to refine if we don't ask people, what is it that you need now that maybe you didn't think you needed 6 weeks ago? So very good question. And I think the direction would be to contact the school, contact the teacher and the principal or assistant principal and see what they can do to remediate that particular situation.
Dr. Apostle, can I respond for just a second?
Absolutely.
This is Chelsea. I just wanted to touch on some of the recent work that our buildings have been doing in regards to MTSS. So all of our buildings have now developed a distance learning behavior matrix. And so our advisory teachers are teaching distance learning behavior expectations, which of course is brand new territory.
Yes.
But we've just recently been able to get that off the ground and to help teach students what behavior should look like during live lessons or on Google Classroom, even, the correct way to do a packet. So I think that it's a work in progress, but that we're all doing that work in our buildings and with our teachers. And so I think that it will continue to improve.
Thank you, Chelsea. Chelsea, for our community members that are involved here, could you define MTSS?
Yes, multi-tiered system of supports. So part of that work is PBIS, which is another acronym, but positive behavior interventions and supports. So it's a positive way of teaching behavior and intervening when kids need more support. So the behavior matrix is basically the foundation for that. And it's certainly, we didn't have a distance learning matrix that existed prior to this, but there's lots of new things that we all need to do to adjust to this world. But I know that's something that all of our schools in the past couple of weeks have gotten off the ground. So I think we're already seeing improvements from that.
Wonderful. Continue to refine. Next question, Bob.
All right. This one is from Kim Goldsby. My question, Dr. Apostle, it is the impression by the community that every school district employee is under your review and held accountable by you, and you are held accountable solely by the school board. If this is accurate, please explain how you decide to discipline or ask an employee for their resignation when they have falsified documentation pertaining another employee or in general. And If you decline not to hold someone to the standards of integrity that you claim to share with us, how do we hold you accountable?
Well, first of all, you're getting into personnel, and there are rules and regulations and laws that we must follow. I don't evaluate every single staff member in the district. I have my cabinet that I evaluate. We have, currently this year, Mary Ann Marshall evaluates the principals. Principals and assistant principals evaluate teachers and coaches. So, and the board evaluates me. And so I have a set of goals that I strive towards, and we all have goals in terms of the vision of our school district, which is graduation 100% by 2022. And we have schools that have their school improvement plan that focuses on making that happen. We have a district improvement plan where every single cabinet member has their goals in terms of supporting the vision of the district. But in terms of criteria that we use, that's been outlined in our evaluation process at every single level, from a custodian, food service, transportation, teacher, para, principal, assistant principal. That's all negotiated. And Linda Arnold, can you comment further on Kim's question?
Yeah, I guess the part I want to hone in on is that I didn't catch it all. I was trying to write furiously, but the question about how you discipline when somebody falsifies information, I'll tell you, Kim and whoever else is listening, we take every single allegation really seriously. We do not sweep things under the rug, and we investigate thoroughly. And as Dr. Apostle mentioned, we have to follow laws and rules and regulations. And at every turn, we work with our attorney, and we just do what is right. So I hope that gets at that part of the question.
Yeah, and then something else too, personnel and evaluation is a very private matter. We can't share information why we make a decision. And the people that are not directly involved in, let's say, a termination don't have all the facts, and we can't share the facts. That's against the law. And so people can surmise in the community why certain things happen, but the reality is there's more to it than what people think happened. There's a lot more to it. And we can't divulge that information. That's private and personal. And I know people have their own ideas of why certain things happen, but let me tell you, in some cases, it's the furthest from the truth. It's the farthest from being accurate. So for people to surmise why certain things happen in an organization like a public school system in relation to personnel, I think they're making a big mistake, because they don't have the facts. Anything else on that one? Okay, next question.
All right, this is another question from Kim Goldsby regarding coaching. This last school year has been tough on our athletic programs. Please explain how each of the coaches who have resigned were replaced. The boys' football coach, baseball coaches left. The girls' fast pitch coach was not renewed, and the girls' soccer coach was. How many individuals were on the interview panels for each coach? How long was the time period between each coach's resignation or renewal and a new coach hired? The fast pitch program lost their coach at the end of October. A new coach was interviewed in December, led to believe he was hired, but he was not. The girls' fast pitch program did not have a coach until the second week of their season. The football and baseball coaches were hired immediately. Does this sound like an equitable situation, as in Title IX? Who is responsible for this debacle?
Linda, do you want to start?
May I answer that, Alex?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So I don't have all of everything in my head in terms of dates and process, but I'm more than happy for you, Kim, to line it out for you on exactly what process was taken for each person. Again, you know, we can't get into things that are personnel matters, but I can outline process for you, and I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Trevor Leopold, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. And each position is always different. So sometimes we have multiple applicants, and sometimes we have very few. So it all depends on how many applicants that we have per position. And after we review the candidates, we interview who we have, and we can only hire who applies for jobs.
Thank you. And the other thing I will mention is that coaching positions are not continuing contracts. And we have very high standards for everybody in our district, including our coaches. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for the question. Next question, Bob.
That's all that we have in the email, but I do know that Randy Lewis is monitoring via the YouTube channel, and he wants to ask a question via phone. I'm not sure which of the 4 phone numbers he's dialing in from.
Oh,
So,
okay. So how do we manage that?
well, he's going to be seeing it via the YouTube channel, and then I think he wants to call in from there.
Okay,
So it may be a moment till YouTube stream catches up to the live meeting that we've got in place.
Okay. Let's see here. If we've got a minute or two, Jenny Lafreniere, are you with us?
I am. Hello.
How you doing, Jenny?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Can you give us a quick update on special ed and what's happening there?
Absolutely. First of all, I feel like we're forefronting everyone else at this point from my understanding in our ESD director meetings. My staff have gone well over and above. I think some of this will carry over into the future as far as the connections that they have made with families and the impact.
Jenny Lafreniere, are you with us?
Oh, can you not hear me?
No, there's a little problem there, Jenny. Keep going. Jenny.
Yeah, so the carryover with families, I think that'll happen when we do resume is going to be amazing. Staff are learning a lot from parents that are helping with what they'll work with back in the classrooms.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of good things, Jenny, and I appreciate your oversight and the work of the staff and their outreach to families. That's why I wanted you to mention it, because I know districts around us are having great difficulty with this particular issue, special education and support services. And I'm hearing nothing but good things and positive comments from our parents. I get emails from parents, how wonderful things are in terms of the connection that our teachers are making and your involvement.
Thank you. Yeah, every student has a continuous learning plan that they've been able to reach, and very few have not been reached. Occupational therapy boxes have been delivered to families to work with their kids. It's just really been phenomenal.
Thank you, Jenny. Keep up the good work. Board members, do you have anything that you want to ask or comment on? Anything at all?
I'm just here to learn and listen.
Hi, Sandy. Good
Hi
to
there.
see you.
Yeah, I would just quickly say I'm right there with you with all the parents that are out there. I have 2 daughters that are in 5th and 6th grade. So we're going through the online schooling. And as Hannah Hoffett said, it is tough for parents. I know it's tough for a lot of teachers that have kids as well that they're juggling. And I do really appreciate all of the efforts from our teachers, from our staff, and from our community and from our parents that are going through this whole learning process together. It's not easy, and I really appreciate the contact that we do get to try to refine and just do better as we go through this. So thank you.
Thank you. Sally Brownfield, Sally Carr.
Well, I just appreciate everybody participating and coming together. I've talked to a lot of parents and community members, and you know, these are unprecedented times, and we're learning a lot along the way. That's going to things may seem difficult now. We're getting things smoothed out as we go, and I think it's only going to inform us as we go forward how to make even a better, a stronger education system for all of our students.
Thank you, Sally. Anybody else? Any other board member want to make a comment while we're waiting here? I just want to very quickly before we go to listen to another community member. There's no question. Could we be better? Yes, we could be better. We are working hard every day to get better. I can assure you of that. This is difficult. You know, the state superintendent said, you know, closing schools was difficult, but reopening schools again is going to be much harder. And that's true. And that's why we're starting now with our subcommittees to really analyze what it's going to take to go deep on the issues in preparation for when school reopens. I can tell you right now, there are going to be many challenges. And that's why we want to involve the community. We want to involve parents and staff. It's going to take all of us working together to start school again. It's not going to be easy. And we need to be tolerant of one another as we move forward. Because again, it's very complex. When you're dealing with different families, different kids, different learning styles, that's not easy to contend with. But I have faith in our school district and our people that we're going to be ready as anybody to start school again. So, Bob?
That's the last question, but I know Randy was asking for it, an opportunity to ask a question. Unfortunately, there is approximately a 20 to 25 second delay between the live stream and the YouTube stream. So if you're opening it up for Randy to ask a question, it may be a few seconds before he comes online.
I think we can wait for him to ask the question. Is that okay with everybody that we do that? We try to start right on time and end on time. Maybe what we can do is maybe you can relay that question to whom it may concern, Bob, and we can respond by telephone, email, text, what have you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Oh, here we go. Hello, Randy.
Hey, I just wanted to say, it's kind of weird. There's a disconnect between the voice and the picture. No one's expecting the district to be perfect, at least I'm not. All I personally ask is honesty and transparency. I also wanted to compliment Stacy, the principal of choice, now Cedar. She, typically my observation has been in the community, public officials, once they make a pronouncement or a decision, they're very reluctant to change it based on new information. I guess they don't want to lose face. Apparently face has no face to lose, but in terms of changing the decision on the name of choice, I thought that was, I've always been a big fan of Stacy. Now I'm a very huge fan of hers. I think if you change your mind like that, that shows security. I think people that make a decision and then refuse to back off on it with new information, that's a big sign of insecurity. So I wanted to throw that in there. I do still think that the high school ought to be named the Don Welander Memorial School, but I lost on that. My question is, and I may have misunderstood it. In one of the online school board meetings, I heard the comment. I think I heard the comment had to do with you know, the rules for graduating seniors, and I heard a comment that if the senior was passing Algebra 2, even if they did not pass Algebra 1, they would graduate. And my question is, well, if you never pass Algebra 1, how did you get into Algebra 2 in the first place? That's my question.
Kelly?
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. It's competency based. So if the student passed a higher level of algebra, then the student gets the grade back for the lower level of algebra. We don't hold the kids back. They can move on to Algebra 2. They still are supposed to circle back around and get Algebra 1. Jen Diet, can you fill in a little bit there?
Absolutely. So the competency credit is part of the waiver this year. I'll start my video if you all want that also. So it does roll back, Randy, but one of the things that we've talked about even for moving into next year is how teachers continue to circle back around and review. And with this competency credit, that's an even stronger need for circling back around and reviewing. And I know, Randy, you've got that math brain and I have that math brain with you, but we know that in education, sometimes kids just didn't pass Algebra 1 because their maturity level wasn't quite there. Once they finally reach Algebra 2, they've got things a little more together, they're a little more focused, and maybe they have the direction of where they want to go. And so some of them actually do pass Algebra 2, having failed Algebra 1 just from not putting in as much work ethic. The competency credit is part of the waiver, and students are getting that across all disciplines, not just math. And it's one of those ways to help our students in the do no harm during this distance learning time.
Yeah, the do no harm is very important, for sure. Randy, you congratulated Stacy, and it's well deserved. But I also want to recognize the board in that process. The board made adjustments based on new information. They approved the first name, and then more information was provided. Sally Brownfield helped us with all of that. And the board was very flexible in hearing Stacy out, and we came to a great decision. So the board and Stacy working together, and specifically Sally's history on that particular first name, Cascadia, that was very helpful in terms of moving us in a different direction. So I thank the board and Stacy. It was a team effort. So that concludes our open forum. Our next open forum will be June 2nd. We were going to have it in the afternoon, but I'm going to make an adjustment and have it in the evening again, just like this one. And that will focus on, part of it will be an open agenda, but most of it will be a report, a kind of an update, a general report from our subcommittees in terms of how we're thinking about reopening schools. Now, these subcommittees are going to continue through the summer. It's not a one-shot deal. The subcommittees will be working even after school begins to make sure that we're on target in terms of those specific areas that I mentioned at the very beginning of the open forum. So this is a process in terms of refining how schools will operate when schools are open again. And it's going to take a tremendous amount of effort and thought to make sure that we're providing our students with the very best possible education. So on that, I would like to say thank you for joining us, and I wish you a very nice evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.